If you are a seller and have solar panels here in Los Angeles area, Santa Clarita Valley, especially these solar panels, I need to have an uncomfortable conversation with you right now. What was sold to you as a premium feature, as a selling point, as something that would make your home worth more than and it's easier to sell, is now actively complicating home sales across the state. And in many cases, it's killing deals entirely. I have watched personally escrows collapse over solar lease assumptions, and almost no agent is preparing sellers for the conversation before they list. Today, I'm going to walk you through exactly what's happening, why solar has become a liability for many California sellers in 2026, and what the data actually says, and most importantly, what you can do about it before your home hits the market. Hi, my name is Rima Rafeh with the Rafeh Group here in Los Angeles, Santa Clarita Valley area. I've been selling real estate for over 2 decades and have closed over $1 billion in real estate across the Santa Clarita Valley, Antelope Valley, and Los Angeles area. I work with sellers every single day where solar panels are nearly on every third home. And what I'm seeing right now in 2026 is a situation that sellers are completely unprepared for. So let's get into it. First, let's understand how we got here, because this is not a problem that appeared overnight. It's a result of a decade of aggressive solar marketing in California that sold homeowners on a product without fully explaining the long-term consequences of how they are or financing it. Starting around 2012 and accelerating through the early 2020s, solar companies flooded California neighborhoods with a pitch that was almost impossible to say no to. Go solar with no money down, lock in your electricity rates, save money every month, add the value to your home. It sounded incredible. And for many homeowners, especially those who purchase their systems outright, it has been generally a good financial decision. But the majority of homeowners who said yes to solar did not buy the system. They leased it, or they signed a power purchase agreement, a PPA. And that distinction, owned versus leased, is everything when it comes time to sell. And here's the number that should make every seller pay attention. As of mid-2024, approximately 36% of residential solar projects in the United States were leased for under a lease-like power purchase agreement, up from just 22% 3 years earlier. In California, where solar adoption is higher than virtually anywhere else in the country, the percentage of lease system is significant. That means a massive number of California homeowners have solar system on their roof that they do not own. The solar company owns it. And that fact has very specific and very serious implications when homeowners decide to sell. So let me explain what a solar lease is, because I find that many sellers do not fully understand the contract they are in until they are sitting across from a buyer who does not want to assume it. A solar lease is a long-term agreement, typically 20 to 25 years, where a solar company installs the panels on your roof and you pay a fixed monthly fee to use the electricity those panels generate. You do not own the panels. The solar company owns them. Under the lease, the solar company also typically files a UCC-1 lien on your property, a legal document recorded on your title that protects their ownership of the equipment on your roof. That lien shows up on every title search on buyers' lender runs when they go to purchase your home. Now, here's where things get complicated for sellers. When you go to sell a home with a leased solar system, you have 3 options, and none of them are simple. Option 1 is lease transfer. The buyer assumes your solar lease, takes over the monthly payment and remaining contract term. This requires the solar company to approve the transfer, which means your buyer goes through a credit check with their solar company in addition to qualifying for their own mortgage. The transfer process can take 30 to 60 days in a market where standard escrow is already 30 to 45 days. A solar lease transfer can push your timeline significantly or create a situation where the deal cannot close on the buyer's needed schedule. Option 2 is a lease buyout. You paid off the remaining lease obligations before or at closing. This sounds straightforward until you see the numbers. Solar leases are structured in a way that the buyout cost, the amount required to terminate the lease early, is almost always significantly higher than the market value of the solar system itself. Seller who signed a 25-year lease term 5 or 6 years ago and now want to sell, sometimes looking for a buyout figures of $15,000 to $20,000 to $30,000 of more, depending on the system size, the company, and the remaining term. That is money coming directly out of your sales proceed. And option 3 is that the seller deal falls apart. The buyer does not want to assume the lease. The seller cannot afford or refuse to buy out. The solar company is slow to respond, uncooperative, or in some cases, bankrupt, and the transaction collapses. The third option is happening more than most sellers realize, and it's happening for reasons that go beyond just the mechanics of the lease transfer. It's happening because the solar industry itself, in the middle of crisis, has changed how buyers perceive leased solar panels on any California home. So let me give you the full picture of what happened in the solar industry over the last 2 years. Because if you have this solar system, these contents matter enormously. Between 2024 and 2026, the residential solar industry in the United States has experienced a wave of bankruptcies and company failures than unprecedented in the industry's history. Major names that were household brands in California real estate circles have collapsed. SunPower, one of the largest residential solar installers in the country, filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. In 2024, Sunnova Energy, another major residential solar lease and PPA provider, filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. And in June 2025, Mosaic, one of the largest residential solar lenders, backing more than $15 billion in home energy loans, filed Chapter 11 bankruptcy. And in 2025, Freedom Forever, one of the country's largest residential solar installers, filed the Chapter 11. And in 2026, these are not small regional companies. These are companies whose logos are on hundreds of thousands of California rooftops. California alone has over 820,000 abandoned solar installations, according to the data from Solar Insurer. Systems installed by companies that have since gone bankrupt, leaving homeowners without warranty support, without service, and in many cases, continuing to make monthly payments to a company that no longer exists in any meaningful form. Now put yourself in the position of a buyer in 2026. You are looking at a California home with solar panel on the roof. You ask, who is the solar company? The solar says Sunnova or SunPower, or a company that you've never heard of that may or may have not still be operating. And you ask, what happens to my warranty if something breaks? Nobody knows. You ask, what are the monthly payments and how long is the remaining lease term? The answer is 19 years, $180 a month with 2% annual escalation. And you think, am I being asked to take a 19-year financial obligation with a company that may be bankrupt or restructured for equipment I don't even own? On a roof that now has a lien against it with no clear warranty support if something stops working? And many buyers say no, clearly, directly, and immediately. This is the dynamic that agents are preparing sellers for, and it's costing sellers deals. There's also a second layer of this problem that runs specifically through California energy policy, and it directly affects how buyers calculate the value of leased solar going forward. In 2023, California implemented what is called NEM 3.0, Net Energy Metering 3.0. Under the old NEM 2.0 rules, homeowners with solar panels who generated more electricity than they used to could sell the excess back to the utility company at near retail rates, sometimes getting significantly credit on the electricity bill. Under NEM 3.0, those export rates were dramatically reduced. Under the new structure, exported solar earns roughly 2 to 8 cents per kilowatt hourly rather than without battery storage. With the majority of existing residential installation, the financial benefit of solar has been meaningfully reduced. So what this means for seller is that the energy savings argument that was used to justify assuming a solar lease has weakened. When a buyer's agents run the numbers on whether it makes financial sense for their client to take over a solar lease, they are now doing that math in the NEM 3.0 world, not the NEM 2.0 world. And in many cases, the numbers do not work the way they used to. A lease that was structured to save homeowner money when exports rates were high may now represent a net cost for buyers who cannot self-consume enough to the solar's production to offset the monthly lease payments under the new rate structure. And then there is a federal tax credit situation, which adds another layer of complexity. The 30% federal residential clean energy credit, which for years allowed homeowners who purchased solar outright to claim significant tax credit, expired for new homeowner-owned system installed after December 31st, 2025. That credit is gone for purchase systems. What remains is the commercial credit that solar leasing company can still access, and they are using it to push more lease and PPA products. What this means in practice is that the incentives for buyer to own solar has decreased while market is being pushed towards these products that carry all the complications we have already discussed. It's a compound problem. Now let me bring back for a very particular level, because I want every seller watching this to understand exactly what they need to do with this information. The first thing you need to do before you list your home to find your solar contract and read it. I know that sounds basic, but the number of sellers I have spoken to who cannot tell me whether their solar is owned or leased, or who cannot find their contract, and who have no idea what's the remaining terms of buyout figure is. It is significant. You need to know your solar status before any buyer asks. Your agent should be asking on day one. If they are not, that's a problem. And here's what you are looking for in your contract. Is this a lease or a PPA, a solar loan or owned outright? That is the first question and the most important one. If it's a loan, it's secured or unsecured. A secured solar loan tied to your home equity would typically need to be paid off at closing. An unsecured loan may have more flexibility but still need to be disclosed and addressed. If it's a lease PPA, what's the remaining term? What are the monthly payments? Is there an annual escalation? What is the current buyout figure? And it's critical which solar company holds the contract and what their current operational status is. Because if your leasing company is in bankruptcy, the transfer process becomes significantly more complicated. The second thing you need to do is get your title pulled early. Your agent escrow officer can pull preliminary title report before you list. That report will show you exactly if there is UCC1 lien on your property from the solar company. You want to see this before a buyer sees it, because a lien showing to mid-transaction that nobody anticipated is one of the fastest ways to kill a deal or create a renegotiation that costs you money. The third thing is to contact your solar company directly before you list and ask them specifically what the lease transfer process looks like and how long does it take. Get this in writing. A solar lease transfer that takes 60 days when your buyer needs a 30-day escrow is a deal problem. Knowing this upfront allows your agent to structure the offer timelines, set the buyer's expectations, and prevent last-minute crises that blows up the transaction. The fourth thing, and this is something most sellers never think about, is to consider buying out the lease before listing. If the financial math works in your favor, in some cases, particularly for sellers with significant equity and relatively small buyout figure, buying out the lease before the home goes to market removes the single biggest objections buyer will raise and allow you to market the home as solar owned, free and clear. Owned solar is genuine selling point. Lease solar in 2026 from a company that may be in financial distress with 20-year remaining term and a monthly payment is not. Now I want to be fair here and acknowledge what the data also shows, because this is not a story where solar is universally bad for home sales. Owned solar tells a different story entirely. Analysis of 2025 Zillow data found that the homes with solar command a premium of nearly 7% over comparable homes without solar. Studies have also shown that solar-powered homes sell 13 to 20% faster than homes without solar. But the critical qualifier in all of that data is the same. That premium and that speed of sale applies to homes where the solar was owned, not leased. The complication and the buyer resistance is concentrated almost entirely in the leased category. There is also an important and often overlooked disclosure obligation here that I want every seller to understand. In California, you're required to disclose the existence of solar lease of any potential buyer. The contract terms, the monthly payment, the remaining term, the lien on title, and all it must be disclosed. An agent who lists your home without ensuring proper solar disclosure is exposing you to post-closing legal liability. I even seen this happen, and it's not a position you want to be in after you have already moved on. Let me also address something I hear from sellers regularly when the conversation comes up, and that is the belief that the solar salesperson told them it would be easy to transfer the lease when they sell. The buyer would simply take it over and would be no problem. I want to say this clearly as I can. The people who sold you the solar lease were paid on commission to get you into that contract. They were not real estate agents. They were not thinking about your home sale 5 or 10 years later. And in some cases, the companies they work for no longer exist. What they told you about how buyers are experiencing and doing right now in the 2026 California market. The market is the market. And right now, the market is telling sellers with leased solar that is a hurdle that requires serious, proactive management. And here's the bottom line I want every seller in Los Angeles area, Santa Clarita Valley to hear. If you have leased solar panels on your home, you have a situation that requires specific, knowledgeable handling before you list. It's unsolvable. It's not automatically a deal killer if you address it correctly and early, but it's also not something you can ignore and hope the buyer accepts. The buyer in this market are educated, their agents are educated, and lease solar system with company in financial distress, a UCC lien on title, and 19 remaining years of payment is not a feature anyone is accepting without a conversation. How your agent prepares for and manages that conversation determines whether your transaction closes cleanly or falls apart. If you're a seller looking to sell in Santa Clarita Valley or Antelope Valley or LA area and you have a solar panel, I would love to have a conversation with you before you list, because the decisions you make in the weeks before your home goes to the market will determine how your transaction unfolds. I'll pull your solar situation apart with you, help you understand your option, and make sure that when buyers come through your door, this is a handled item, not a surprise that costs you tens of thousands of dollars of your sale entirely. You can reach out to me at 661-236-8899. Please like and share this video with someone who has solar, and we'll see you on the next one.